Hey guys, it's FAQ Friday. I actually just got back late last night. I've been gone for 5 days. It's so amazing when you're gone for any length of time. It seems like there's so much growth in the garden when you get back. So it's always fun to kind of walk around and see what's different. We were actually down in San Diego for 5 days. My sister and her husband and her family are moving back to California after being in Tennessee for 3.5, almost 4 years for a job. And so we were down in San Diego area helping them do some house hunting. But I'm glad to be back with you. Before we get started, I actually want to plug a special video that I'm doing tomorrow. Don't normally have videos on Saturdays, but tomorrow there will be a video. And that is going to be something that is super important that all of you, no matter what your zone, no matter where you live, something you need to be doing right now in the garden that will really affect the plants you grow in the future, especially next spring. Something you need to be doing right now. Okay, let's get to the questions. Okay, the first question is from Gail about our Blackberry pruning video. Holy cow, you are very brave to take off all those canes. No wonder my production is minimal, but I currently have berries that are almost ripe. How long after harvest can I prune? So the thing is, at different times, in different areas of the country, the blackberries will ripen at a different time. Ours ripen pretty early, but some others might be midsummer. Now, the rule pretty much is right when they're finished producing, so when you pick your last berry, that's when you need to do the pruning. So whether that's in March, April, May, June, July, it doesn't really matter as long as it's right after the harvest is through. Okay, same video. And this was just a funny comment that I honestly didn't notice in editing, but Dee Dee O'Brien noticed, and a few other people as well. And so she says, I paused it at 10:10 and left it that way for a few minutes. And then there was a laughing face and a bunny. And I went back and I looked, and it took me forever to actually get it. So Dee Dee, great eye. For the rest of you that didn't get it, here it is. Me with big, huge bunny or donkey ears. You seeing it? It's just hard to catch everything when you're editing, but that's pretty funny, so I thought I'd put it in here. All right, so on our video about tomato cuttings, taking cuttings from tomato plants, D Diamond R Ruby says, can a tomato plant grow indoors, considering taking some big suckers off at the end of the season and planting indoors? So I did a video, well, a few videos actually of growing. I was growing a tomato indoors in a grow tent under a grow light, and I didn't have the best results. However, I really think that's due to the fact that I didn't really know what I was doing. I had never grown much indoors, and the heat of the garage and the heat of the tent in the garage and the heat of the light in the tent in the garage really caused some problems. I didn't have any ventilation in the beginning, so that was one of my things, but I'm gonna have a do-over this winter, and I'm gonna do exactly what you just said. I'm gonna take cuttings, I'm going to root them and then grow them in the garage, in the grow tent with the grow light, and it should be a lot cooler in there in the garage. So I think that'll fix a lot of my problems. I'll take you guys along at the same time. So in answer to your question, you can grow them indoors, but they definitely need a grow light, or they need to be in a greenhouse. Usually a south-facing or north-facing in the southern hemisphere window is not going to be enough to give them at least 6 hours of direct sunlight. So if you have a grow light or a greenhouse, I think you're good to go. Okay, same video. Michael Hidalgo asks, how do you feel about plants started from seeds like from Home Depot versus those from a local nursery? I purchased some seeds early this year, maybe around April, May, and planted them. The plants are great, but absolutely no harvest. I was thinking of doing this since I heard the tomato season in my location begins in September, but I was wondering if those plants would be any good or if I would have greater luck buying some different varieties from the nursery and, depending on the price, buy a few and clone some more. Now, I don't know where you are, but I'm guessing if you say your tomato season begins in September, you're either in the southern United States where it gets hot, maybe Texas, or you're in the southern hemisphere somewhere. Either way, if your plants are growing great plants and no fruit, it's probably because of the heat. So if you are in the southern United States and heat is an issue throughout the summer, then September would be a great time to get those going. And I don't have a problem with nursery transplants, seeds from Home Depot, seeds from, heirloom places. It doesn't matter. That really won't have an effect on whether or not the plant produces the tomatoes that it's supposed to produce. I hope that answered your question. Okay, the next question is from Katharina. The area for my tomato plants is facing west and gets really hot in the afternoon. Do you think having a sunshade sail with 90% UV block will hinder their growth? Light still coming in, the color of the sail is beige, but the heat, still warm, is cut substantially. 90% is too much shade. A 35% shade cloth is about, for tomatoes especially, they need a lot of sun, and 90% is blocking out too much for them to actually produce well. If you are in a hot location, it's best to use the 35% shade cloth and get them through the heat of the summer, and then they'll start producing again late summer, early fall. Russ K wants to know, as a renter, he's invested in buckets, grow bags, and potting mix this season, and to plant a fall crop, can I just amend the leftover mix in the container with some compost and plant again, or should I dump them all out, mix it up, and redistribute the mix? I really can't see buying all new potting mix. Yeah, that would get really expensive. You don't need to get rid of all the mix. I would say if you take out about a third of the old, put it in your compost bin, and then mix in a third new compost into the remaining 2/3, that should be great, and I just do that at the end of every season. On our basil cutting video, what kind of light do you give your cuttings while they're in the water pots? Yep, I forgot about that. Forgot to mention that. And basically, the ones that rooted so quickly in 10 days were in bright sunlight, but never direct light. So, next to a window without the sun actually hitting them would be great. Mine were just under my patio cover on the railing, actually, so they got a lot of bright light, but no direct sun. Okay, Terry asks, the mist system just came on in the jungle, so this probably wasn't the proper timing to be sitting right here. My computer's getting wet, but it's not bad. All right, Terry asks, when my late mother would take cuttings, she put a piece of, he didn't ask this. This was actually a great idea I wanted to share with you in case you guys don't look at the comments. And you guys should look at the comments as well as comment, because there is a whole lot of conversation going on down there and a lot of great advice, questions being answered by other people other than me. So I appreciate that. But Terry was sharing with us, when my late mother would take cuttings, she put a piece of wax paper over the cup of water. Then she poked a small hole in it for each stem. That way the stem is supported and the leaves stay out of the water. I thought that was a brilliant idea, Terry. So I wanted to share that with the rest of the group. And thank you for sharing it with us. The next one is from Karen. As always, an intelligent, clear, and very useful video. Thank you, Karen. I don't know the situation in California, but here in northern Germany, mint should definitely be grown in a container or you will never be able to get rid of it. Something else I forgot to mention, I think in every other video I've ever talked about mint, I have said that, and this one I forgot. So Karen, thank you for bringing it up. And I just wanted to put it out there so everyone can make sure you know that mint is very invasive in most climates. Maybe not in the desert, but anywhere else, it's very invasive. In fact, we've got mint growing beside our house that's probably been there for 30, 40 years. And there's no getting rid of it unless I really took a lot of poison, and I don't do that. So I'm just happy to walk over it and get that nice minty smell. But in my vegetable garden, it would definitely be a problem. So yes, always grow it in a container. And if you grow it in a container and you grow it on the ground, you should even put it on a stepping stone, because the roots will go through that drainage hole, get into the soil of the ground, and then spread. Okay, this was actually on an old video, top 10 tomato mistakes. It's not that old, but it wasn't in the last 2 weeks, I don't think, but it was important. This is Amy, and she asks, have you ever seen new growth or branches coming straight out of the end of a fruit cluster? When I first saw it, I thought it was because I had pinched the main stalk by mistake, but I've seen other plants producing several of these anomalies. If you've seen it, do you prune it or let it grow? Thanks. Yeah, that's normal. Not normal. It doesn't happen to all of them. It does happen sometimes. I just clip them off because there is a chance those could just start making a secondary plant. And especially at the, at the end of that fruit cluster, we don't want to take any energy away from that fruit developing and ripening. So yeah, just clip those off. A couple more really quick things. There was a lot of you in mild winter climates who looked up your frost date and found it to say infrequent. I'm thinking you probably just Googled and that was the Google answer. I think if you go into the Farmer's Almanac, it will give you a little bit more, because infrequent is what mine says here, but then if I go into the Farmer's Almanac, it tells me, you know, the specific dates that I could get frost. It's a very small window, but it does give that. So that hopefully will clear up any confusion there. But if it does say infrequent, it probably is infrequent. Maybe you don't get any, maybe you get 2 or 3 nights of frost like I do. Okay, Diane M commented on something that a lot of you commented, and that was renaming or possibly renaming my channel. And she noticed, as well as a lot of others, that I added California Garden TV, then I added advice for all climates. Now, I was overwhelmed with the answers that I got when I asked you, did you the first time you came across one of my videos, did you pass it up because it had California in the name and you weren't in California, so you figured it didn't apply to you? I would say there was a good 50-50 split between those of you who said it didn't worry about it and those of you who said that you did and you actually passed up my video a few times and then finally watched it and we're glad you did, which I'm glad you did too. And a lot of those who said I shouldn't change my name were from California. And it sounded like a lot of people were concerned that if I changed my name, I would be changing the content of my videos. That's not the case. However, I have decided to slightly change the name over the next few months. This is the first step, adding advice for all climates, because I don't want subscribers who have been subscribed for a while to get confused and lost if I just change the name all of a sudden. So this is the first step. I think that I won't change it completely. It's always going to have some sort of California Garden TV in the mix. I'm going to keep the same logo, but it will be changing because I was very concerned how many of you actually passed up the video once, twice, 3 times before you actually watched it. And a lot of times on YouTube, you don't get more than 1 time. And so I'm grateful that those of you who did decide to go ahead and do it, did it. But I really do think, comparing with some other YouTubers that I've compared with, having that name has actually been a detriment. So there's some creative ways I'm going to be handling that over the next few months, and I'll keep you all up to date on that. But I do appreciate all your feedback. It was immensely helpful with this series of decisions. Okay, that was it. If you guys got something out of that, please give me a thumbs up. Consider subscribing if you haven't already. Hit the bell icon so you get notifications of all our future videos. I really wish that I was able to get back with you all in the comments like I used to. There's just so many of you now. I try to do what I can, but I'm loving that you guys are all invested in that. You're talking back and forth. You're giving your own answers and advice. So if you haven't visited the comment section of the videos, please do that because there's a lot of great information down there. I'll see you tomorrow.